Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You guys, I do that and still.
Still breaks during the meeting. Debbie, you didn't have to mention Oscar. Because the only thing he did.
You bet.
Here's the thing. You live in Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for today. Just thank you for being able to come to this meeting today, Lord. Just give us guidance, wisdom to make the right decisions. Father, I pray you would just be with our town, our citizens, be with our employees, Lord, as they're working through all this heat. Just guide us in everything that we say and do. I pray and ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Bond, all members are present. We have a quorum. All members are present. We have a quorum. Need approval of the agenda. Mr. Ellis, do we have any changes or to the agenda from your part?
No, sir.
Mr. Minor, do we have any on your part?
Well, the only change, the ordinance is gonna come before the board. Obviously, we were using a form that we had used in the past, and, in section 2 of the, there were so many changes that were being made, particularly to the collective exhibit, portions, right down to the 11th hour. The town of Rossville is showing up in section 2, so obviously on the second reading, that needs to be changed to the town of Oakland.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other changes or corrections to the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor Wiggins to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, Mr. Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher opposes.
And I also oppose.
And Ms. Hummel opposes. Okay? Approval of minutes. We need to approve the minutes that we had a concern about at our last meeting. So I'll take a motion on that when you're ready.
Everything's been corrected. I will make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve the minutes for May 16, 2004. Have a second.
Second.
Have a second, Mr. Cates. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Please let the record reflect that I abstained from voting because I did leave early after the start of the meeting.
All right. Moving down. I now declare a public hearing open on ordinance 2401, adopting annual budget and establishing tax rate for fiscal year 2025. Does anyone wish to speak?
I'll take a moment. How you guys doing? John Finn, I live at 100 Acadia Circle. I guess my basic question here, I was just looking at the salaries here for 2023, 24, and 25. And this year, it looks like it goes up $1 million. For what reason?
Mr. Ellis, you want to give him an explanation? We did raise salaries 5%.
I mean, 5% is a lot more than what it
Well,
was.
I appreciate your comment on that, sir. You asked why, and I'm telling you we raised salaries 5%.
Well, 5% doesn't account for that amount.
That's right, because some of our departments, like police and fire, have salary schedules where they get raises based on promotions or advancement in schools. Even our water and sewer people, if they get schools, they get additional raises for those schools. So it is gonna reflect more than 5% because of the salary schedules with emergency services and then education and the other departments.
Okay. How many employees does that represent, that number?
Oh, I say they got 23 on the police department, and I'm gonna say our fire department staff is probably around 16, 17, is that right?
About right, yes.
So about 40 employees there, and then, in the water department, I don't know if any of them got those educational things or not.
Dennis might know.
We budgeted money in water, wastewater for education for people to go and participate and get certifications. Personnel, we've actually budgeted funds and allocated to compensate employees for further their education. Total, we have 75 employees. It's about 72
Total
now.
75 employees.
72 now, I think.
Okay.
Has a few vacancies.
If I may add, we established directors where we went from supervisors,
Yes.
department heads to directors.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no one else, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Do I have a motion to hear ordinance 2401, annual budget and
Motion to hear.
Have a motion to hear, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, have a motion from Vice Mayor, have a second from Mr. Sutton, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Ellis, please.
Mayor Moore, the only change since we last visited this, if you look on the second page toward the bottom, we have added the funds to complete the construction drawings for the new town hall police facility. We had a surplus in the general fund budget. If you look at the fourth line from the bottom of the page in the far right column, you'll see that $452,998. That is what we'll have to pull from the general fund reserve to complete to balance this budget. We had 282,000 surplus before, so you combine those together, and that's gonna be the total cost of the construction project, the plans. Also, the tax rate is not gonna change, we're not, proposing a tax increase this year, property tax increase, so it'll remain.
Mr. Ellis.
Yes.
Gentlemen, if y'all wanna talk, you need to go outside. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Ellis, I kept hearing them, not you.
Yes, sir. Property tax will remain the same, no increase is proposed this year. That is the only change that's reflected in this budget. I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
I have a quick question. The plans are roughly about 900,000.
Yes, sir.
We took 282,000. That was surplus from last year. Are we certain
No,
that
that's surplus in this budget, in this proposed budget.
we had money we thought we had in last year's? Was that money was never taken out of the general fund, is that correct? To apply to this project?
Correct.
Okay.
The plans are $896,430.
So, Mr. Ellis, so the only amount, as you said, pointed out, that we're taking out of that general fund then is to 452?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the only amount that we're taking
All
out
other
of
funds
it?
are balanced.
I'd like to ask one more question. If we're at 962 and we take 280,000, that still leaves a balance of about 680,000, not 452.
No, it's 896.
896.
It's on your desk the last page.
Okay, but if you take 300,000 off of that, you're still at 600,000. There's still 150,000 unaccounted
But
for.
won't we have the reoccurring revenues from the property tax increase for the year to
Yes.
put that money?
280, I believe.
And that's the 8 cents.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the money.
I think that's gonna be the difference,
That's where-
Vice Mayor.
That's where it's at, yeah.
So the budget that we talked about last time is virtually the same. We don't have to have a property tax increase, and the money for the plans for the town hall project will come out of the general fund.
Correct.
Part of it.
I'm good.
Any other questions?
And it's possible that part of that money will not be due until next year's budget as well. So it's possible that the revenues from the next year also will be about 300,000 as well. Is it?
Correct. This is not gonna be a check, just one
And-
check written. This is gonna take time, and it's installments.
So it's not gonna be like we're writing a check for it. We've got revenues coming in to put this money back in the general fund due to the property tax increase of last year.
Correct.
I think for his first time doing a budget, Mr. Ellis did a very good job.
I do too.
It was a team effort, so thank you.
Well, I would also say the fact that I would like the public to really realize that there is no property tax increase in there. And that is a tremendous service to you and your gratitude from us to you and your staff.
Thank you.
That we didn't have to do that. But I can also say that in the future that they will have to come because our tax rate is extremely low. And we've got to meet the challenges coming of salaries for our staff. We're gonna continue to have problems meeting staffs. We're losing people now in departments because of the raises given by the county and sheriff's department and other areas, so that's coming too. So future boards are gonna have to deal with that.
Correct.
Any other comments before I ask for a motion? Need a motion, please.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve ordinance 2401, adopting the annual budget and establishing tax rates for fiscal year 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher opposes the budget. All right. Moving on. New business. Ordinance is on first reading. Have a motion to hear ordinance 2407.
Motion to hear.
Have a motion to hear. Need a second on an ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mr. Ellis.
Mayor and Board, I was asked to prepare an ordinance for de-annexation on certain properties north side of 64, beginning at Park property going west. The reasoning is the potential cost of providing sewer to the north side. You're all aware we have an existing sewer line on the south side of 64 that goes to Highway 196. And to serve the sewer to the property on the north would be a very expensive endeavor for the town, which we do not have funds for. This is the first reading. There's a lot of work that's been put into this. I'll go ahead and tell you about a lot of people. There's still, if approved, I just want you to know there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done before the second reading. So there's gonna be a while before the second reading is ready. I couldn't give you a time frame. Again, pending your approval. I'll try to answer any questions, or Attorney Meyer will, best we can.
I have a question, Mr. Ellis. For the first reading, because I know we put a notice in the paper about we were having the meeting today. And as an important subject that this matter is, particularly to the individuals that live there, why was there not a notice for the people that live there advertised so they could be here on the first reading as well? This is a very important issue. And I mean, I looked at the survey, the soft survey that went out regarding the sewer system. Were they for it, were they not? And of the 6 replies you got back, 4 of them said, yes, I'd like to have it. 2 said, I'm satisfied with what I've got. Now, that was a poor response to the 40 or so letters that you sent out, but that's what goes down. But we need, in my opinion, for notification, the people need to be aware of the consequences of this. As well as many other departments that have to know about this, from the sheriff department, because they'll then be required to patrol that area. Also, the residents need to aware that. They may not want to be de-annexed, and I see you've got that on there, but I think they have the right to be here on first reading, not the second reading. I don't care if it takes 4 months to go down the road. I do believe that this needs to be tabled to the next meeting in July for first reading, to give proper notice and advertisement in the newspaper so they know this is first reading on de-annexation, so they can come and ask questions. I think this is shoving it down the road real fast, and I don't think legally this gives a good look to the city. We need to give the people time to come up here and sit here for the first reading.
All right, I'm not gonna put up with this. If you're gonna do that, you can leave. This is serious business, and I don't need that. Sheriff, Chief, any more outbursts, I'd like them out.
But finishing up my comments, there are a lot of things that's gonna have to be covered on this. The residents need to know, I've already paid my property taxes for last year. We're already going into the 7th month of the taxing year. They need to realize that their taxes are gonna be prorated, that they still gonna get a tax thing for the months that they were in the city limits. These are things that need to be put out there, not after the first reading. This needs to be detailed information that the residents need to know about before first reading. They deserve to be here on first reading, and proper notice was not given. Thank you.
I have a question. Was proper notice given about this was it advertised anywhere?
All of the town's business is important, okay? So we advertise this just like we do any other meeting. It was put on the town website, it was posted on site here. That's what we do, other than a public notice in the newspaper before a second reading.
So this was, we give notice on this just like we have every other meeting?
As far as I know, I stand corrected. If the staff can correct me, please do.
Attorney Minor, are we within legalities to go ahead and hear this first reading today?
The minimum notice requirements are met for a first reading.
Okay, so,
Are you through, Mr.?
I had a
Yes,
question.
so
Okay,
I yesterday.
No, you got it Thursday.
I didn't get this Thursday. I got the, budget, but I didn't get this.
Oh, that's true, this didn't come till, yesterday.
Right, well, that
You got it
didn't give
when I
me
got it.
ample time enough to review it, look at it, or anything. I can't even discuss it. That's why I'm not saying anything. Because you're supposed to have, not you,
Yes,
supposed to have this in our hands, at least so we could investigate it, look at it, and do, with everything else.
understood.
And then, if this was proper notice on everything, we would have more people here going, wow, what are we doing here?
When we advertise, we don't attach the ordinance, we advertise.
I understand
we
that,
advertise the
but for
agenda.
me,
Yes, for you,
to
you're
look at
correct.
this and
Yes.
vote on this, I have no idea what's in this packet. I haven't even, I flipped it over and just said, okay,
Correct, and you got it when I got it,
right, well, that's not ample time.
understood. Okay.
I just want to, if I can ask a question, Mayor,
Yes.
how many of these type neighborhood, all this came up because, well, this has been going on for years. This has been going on for years. I don't like the fact that there's 60 neighborhoods in one house, and 4 of those houses get services and the other 56 don't. How many neighborhoods are included in this plan of service, or in this de-annexation thing?
I can think of about 4 right offhand, the entrance part of the neighborhood.
So we have 4 neighborhoods that if you're lucky enough to live close to the highway, you get town services, and if you live just one house over, you don't.
Correct.
Okay. And this doesn't affect any of the businesses.
No.
So we just estimated just to bore under the highway and run a piece of sewage pipe was about 200,000? Is that just an estimate? I know it's not a real number.
I believe that's the number we use, yeah.
So that's just for that. That doesn't include the other work. Would it be safe to assume that if we provided service to these 4 neighborhoods, that it would cost the town in excess of $1 million?
I don't feel comfortable with that. Not only that, it would be the cost of the homeowner to actually retrofit their existing sewer.
And the cost of each homeowner, if we ran this sewage, we could require them to hook up to it, and it would cost that individual homeowner somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 out of pocket of their own money.
Correct.
And everybody in town's bill would go up $40 a month to cover the cost of it, roughly.
We're looking at another rate increase on the sewer now, as you all are.
But this would be another,
This would be an additional cost after the one we have coming up next, because of the debt we incurred on the wastewater treatment plant.
I do sympathize a little bit with Mr. Fisher's proper notice. I think I've been a person who complains about that from time to time myself. But this is just a first reading. If we pass this today on a first reading, we shall have at least a month, if not longer, to get all the facts and information, have a public hearing, and thoroughly discuss it. Is that correct?
That's correct. The things that will have to occur before a second reading will be, of course, a detailed survey that is provided along with a map with that survey. Also, letters will have to go out to each property owner and certain adjoining property owners. And then there'll have to be, of course, a publication in the Fayette Falcon at least 15 days prior to the hearing on the second reading. So there are substantial notice requirements that will have to be met for a second reading.
Okay. I wanted to address one thing that Ms. Hummel said. I don't think this is gonna mess with our services too much. If you live in one of the first 2 houses, you're in Oakland, but that 3rd house still has to be patrolled by sheriffs. If a fire call goes out, if there's an actual fire, that call goes out to 3 different fire departments simultaneously. And if there's a medical call, Oakland services a lot of county residents as it is, and we would still be the closest. And they would still be allowed to be water customers, is that correct?
Correct.
And they're currently not getting sewer.
Correct.
Would they be
Just a
required?
minute, just a
No,
minute,
I'm sorry.
just a minute. Are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Fisher?
Have we given the county our, 60-day notice that we're doing this?
What part of the statute are you referring to? Because the 60-day notice is a requirement, but it's not, it does not have to be met before the first reading.
it's gotta be met before the second reading.
That is correct.
Okay, well, then I can work on that.
So then if the 60-day, oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Sutton.
So, my concern about this, and I'll tell you, and that I'm the one that asked for the ordinance, and when I did, Mr. Fisher was sitting in Mr. Ellis's office. And I actually asked for this to be on a month ago, on the June meeting, and it didn't get done. My concern, when we had the meeting, and it come up about providing service, my concern is that we more or less found that it wasn't feasible to put it over there for the revenue it would generate. I run some numbers, it would take over 20 years in property tax to pay for that. From those houses, I think it was 28 years just on the bore over there, not counting the other lines that would be run. To me, the town of Oakland has held this and not done anything for over 20 years. But I just found out about it a few months ago that it wasn't feasible, and by looking at the numbers, I thought that it would never be feasible to put it there. The town has been, litigation has been talked about plan of services. I've heard people say that they wasn't gonna pass anything else for growth until that service got provided to those areas. And so it's time to put the baby to bed. Either we're gonna bite the bullet and put services over there, or we're gonna let them people out of an obligation to where they've been living in Oakland and not getting the same thing I've been getting at my house. And that's the way I see it. And I think that if we know that it's never gonna be feasible to put it there. Mr. Minor, if we've said it in open meeting that it's not feasible to put it there, do we have an obligation or to de-annex if we know that we're not gonna give them the services everybody else has?
I don't know about the word obligation, but case law is very clear that there is no obligation on the part of the town to provide the services where it's not economically feasible. The Supreme Court has addressed that.
But to ask somebody that's been living somewhere to come up with $10,000 to $12,000, and if we put it in, they would be required to hook to ours. Like, I can't build a house in Oakland and have well water in a septic tank.
Correct. When services are available, you're required to hook up.
And so if we put it over there, those residents are gonna be required to pay that money to hook into that tap. So we're gonna go and say, hey, you've been living here, and they may have been living here like Mr. Fisher for 20-something years. It would've cost them probably a third of this at one point in time, if they'd have got it when they bought the house. But now we're asking him to pay $10,000 or $12,000, and he may not have a problem with that. But how many of these people? So that's another thing, Ms. Hummel, about noticing, and they'll have an opportunity. But that's the things we need before the second reading. We need to get a cost estimate of and to tell them people how much it's going to cost them to hook to this if they're for us running it there. But to me, to have everybody in Oakland pay for how many houses is this? I see the different lots, but obviously some of these, like, some of them, like, there's 5 lots on one name. There's probably in 5 houses there.
No, I'm not sure how many homes, I believe there were 49 parcels.
Correct.
If I could just kind of parlay off that, just because I'm sure it'll come up, maybe not today, but in your mind, one of the first things that I thought about was how bad is this gonna hurt us on property taxes? So I did an initial study. We bring in, last year we brought in about 2.1 million on property taxes. This was around $12,000. So we're gonna lose $12,000 in property tax.
Around, yes.
If we de-annex. Just wanna throw that out for information. I didn't mean to not.
I'm sorry.
But I don't know how many.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I don't think that's true. This is already the end of June.
No, not the first year. It's gonna be prorated, as Ms. Hummel said, but the next year, full year.
I
Let's
think,
look at what these properties paid last year.
I think with the development going on in Oakland, I think we'll more than make up for $12,000
I didn't
property
want
tax.
anybody to leave here thinking, oh, we're gonna lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the only reason. I gotta get to Ms. Hummel now. I've been telling her no, and I'm gonna let her talk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is there a possibility, now that was a soft survey that went out, and when I read the survey, I didn't see a question on there or statement saying the approximate cost for you to tap in would be. So the people that said yes, the 4 responses that said yes, I would be interested in tapping in, they had no idea what they were saying yes to. Now, they would have said no if they had gotten that figure, and that survey would have been more succinct. Since it wasn't, these 4 people doesn't know what they would be faced with, but yes, they'd like it. Would I like to go to the moon? Maybe. Is it feasible in my pocketbook? No. So, there's 2 things between saying yes and what I'm able to do financially. Now, is there a possibility that if these people, we get the legally required responses back when they're faced with how much it costs, that we have deemed that it's not feasible for us to bore and provide it? Given that point, you would have to still have your septic tank or your step tank, whatever you're using for your sewer. You would still have to have that. You would also be losing maybe other services. Now, of course, we tell them we're not going to let your house burn down, but they might lose that mosquito truck that comes by there. Maybe that's not important to them. But we provide that as part of services, and I know their street was covered. Could we still keep them in the city and just say that they all agree that the majority said they don't want to tap in, they're happy with what they've got, therefore they can still stay in the city, but they have agreed, we don't want you to bore because we don't want to bear the expense, but we want to stay in the city. Just because we're not providing it, they say, it's okay with me that we've been going this long with it, I can't afford it, but I want to be in the city. Is that an option for them?
Well, all I know is, and I've spent a lot of time on this over the last 10 days, and spoken with a lot of municipal lawyers, and a lot of people with MTAS. A 20-year annexed area that has really not received these fundamental services, sewer, is very, very unusual. There's no legal issue there, other than the fact that we have no legal obligation as a town to provide the service. The courts have spoken to that. But it is a very unusual, from what I can tell from speaking with multiple people across the state over the last 10 days, whose business is to know these things. This is unusual. You've got a 20, as Alderman Sutton said, you've got a 20-year annexation where these services have not been provided. And I think that was the fundamental problem that the Keiths had with Fayette Packard.
Anybody else, Ms. Hunt?
No, I think so.
That would be even worse, though. I mean, right now, if you just take the $1 million figure and you say we have 5,000 homes in Oakland, then it's gonna cost those 5,000 homes $200 apiece to do this service. So that means that 4,960 people, 4,960 people are gonna pay for 40 people to have access to something they may not want to have, or may not get. I mean, this is a problem. It's a problem this board didn't create, but this board faces now. But how in good faith can you put it over there? And I agree with Ms. Hummel. I think that these people should know, but until the rabbit gets jumped and this gets passed, you're more or less asking them hypothetical questions. So I'm open-minded, and if the people of Oakland are in the majority, and they come in here and they're willing to help pay for 40 people to get sewer, I'm all for it. But I mean, my understanding, and according to the ordinance, referendum should 10% or more of the voters residing within that area district. That's not many. You're looking at just a few people. If they want it to be put on a ballot, then this is going to let the people decide. What better way to do things than let the people decide?
Well, it's not that. It lets the people who
Just a
live.
minute.
That's okay. That's okay. Let
You
me
yielding?
speak.
Okay,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
yield to Mr. Fisher.
Go ahead.
That's not the way it is. 10% of the people over there, you only need 5 to sign a petition to put it on the ballot. Those 10% over there is all you need to vote for the option of the annexation or stay in the city. And that's 10 people.
So the referendum will only include
Only include them.
that.
And they can have that, it has to be done.
I don't think that's correct.
75 days after its final passage, they put on the referendum, the closest next election, which is in 2 years.
How can 50 people determine 10,000 people's money?
Attorney Minor, Mr. Fisher said only the people in the affected area would get the vote. I think.
No, that's not accurate. Let me just
Yes, it
read the
is.
statute. It's 6-51-201. The concurrence of a majority of the voters shall be presumed unless a petition objecting to the de-annexation signed by 10% of the registered voters residing within the area proposed to be de-annexed is filed with the city recorder within 75 days following the final reading of the ordinance. If that petition is filed within that 75 days, a referendum shall be held at the next general election, and that's important, it can't be a special election, to ascertain the will of the voters residing in the area that the city proposes to de-annex. So,
That's what I said. Exactly what I said.
Read that last part again.
Yep.
right, if a petition is filed,
You
a
idiots.
referendum shall be held at the next general election to ascertain the will of the voters residing in the area that the city proposes to de-annex. The ballot shall provide a place where voters may vote for or against de-annexation by the city. I'll be honest with you, I read that to mean that that is that would be a vote by those individuals residing within the de-annexed area. But certainly between now and second reading, we can get that.
The election commission would know that.
There are attorneys in Nashville.
So basically, if the people that live there, if they vote not to be de-annexed, then they're accepting our decision that it's never gonna be financially feasible to do it, and the only reason they're residing there is to pay their property taxes and have police and fire service.
And sanitation.
That's
And,
right.
and water.
Well, they've already
Go
got
get
water.
They've already got water.
We provide that to people out of Oakland. But so those people would decide that they're comfortable paying property taxes to receive police, fire, and sanitation services.
That's correct. I think that
I'm
would
good
be
with that.
I think that would be an additional layer in favor of the town if there was a referendum filed, a petition filed, a referendum held, a referendum upholding the desire of those to remain in the town rather than being de-annexed, that would be an additional layer that they are acknowledging the fact that that fundamental service of sewer is not going to be provided.
And
Wait a
each
minute. Now,
one,
hold up. Mr. Fisher had a question. I'll
Okay.
stop to you, Mr. Fisher.
And we've already established that for 20 years, that we have been paying all this and we have gotten nothing of sewer. Well, what's changed? Now we're just talking about it. It's a waste of time.
Mr. Fisher, you brought this issue up.
No,
We're
I
only
did not.
talking about this because you brought this up a few months ago and said, we want an answer.
I-
And I read emails from
I
people
want
on
an
this
answer.
board saying, I'm not gonna proceed anymore until this issue's dealt with. I think we're taking the time to deal with this issue. But, wait a minute, I've got,
Go ahead.
also, if a homeowner that's in this affected area does go and vote for this, what they're in effect saying is, I agree to pay the $10,000 to $12,000 that may be required of me to hook up to this service if you require it. Would that be an accurate statement? Our attorney's reading again.
Okay,
Don't,
I'm reading.
it can be a rhetorical question.
But you only need 10%.
No, but each one of those 10% have to have $10,000 to give to the town.
Exactly, and if you got $10,000 just to lay out for sewer right now, no, you're gonna have to put it on the payment plan. We don't do payment plans like that.
Right. But
Well,
if we run the sewer, they're gonna get that bill.
No, if we tap into it, that's what the bill's gonna cost us.
We're gonna,
Tap fee.
if we have to spend the money to run it, we're gonna require that
And
you be
that's
tied
why
into it.
The people of that area said, we don't need it. We just wanna know when you were gonna do it, and when they found out it was $10,000, they said, we don't really need it. We haven't had it for 20 years, all of a sudden, it's a big issue right now. don't say I brought it up. It was brought up 15 years ago that they were gonna do a plan of service. They hadn't did that. Now, it's $10,000 a tap, but back then, 15 years ago, it was 2,000. I could afford that.
And there were probably
Everybody
less
could do
houses.
that.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Fisher?
I'm good.
Okay.
I got a question, I ain't said
Mr.
that.
Gates, you've been real quiet.
Why, if I understand this right, why would you even wanna pay to send it to put it under the road if they don't agree to hook up to it? I agree with Mr. Wiggin. If you're gonna pay money to put it under there, you have to require that they do hook up to it.
Correct.
You gotta get it, like, before we do it, get them to say, yeah, we're gonna pay for it. That's not gonna happen.
I'm just saying,
I know,
I've been
I
listening to
agree
all
with
of
you.
this,
I agree with you.
you ain't gonna spend all that money to bore under that road and take a chance on them hooking up. If it's
That's right.
bored under there, it's required to hook up.
Yes.
But what happens if they refuse to do it?
Well, if the fees are not paid, then you would have that statute you could go under to then, provide a special assessment on their property tax, their city property tax, which ultimately could result in a tax sale if they didn't pay the tap fee.
Okay.
See, I don't think the people, I'm like Miss Debbie, I don't think they've been notified. I know we did the soft survey, but I think if people knew that they wouldn't want it to happen. And it's eventually gonna happen, y'all, and I don't know what year that's gonna be. But as that grows that way, and businesses get put on that side of the interstate, because we're not de-annexing the whole area, we're de-annexing these houses been in Oakland for several years that hadn't got the service.
Gotcha,
So,
Michelle.
there's some false information that's being put out that we're gonna lose revenue from businesses that grow out there and things that's not what's going on here. And as new subdivisions go in and a developer pays to have that board under the highway,
Yes.
that's what's gonna happen. A developer's gonna come along and they're gonna pay for the board, which is $200,000. Then you're gonna have it on that side. So now you're looking at just moving it a short distance. So then, them people could ask to be annexed in to get them services. It's
You
not.
have to have 100% of the
Mr.
people.
Fisher, will you please quit interrupting and
He-
I raised my hand.
Okay. I'll let you talk, I promise.
Have I said anything that isn't true, Mr. Fisher?
No, that's
Okay.
why I'm trying to expound on it, but I can't say it, so go ahead.
So, but the thing about this is, y'all, if those people are affected, then they just need to know what it's gonna cost them if and when that happens. But they also need to know that it may never happen, even though they do it. So they're just paying property taxes for police, fire, and sanitation services.
All right. Ms. Hummel, then Ms. Fisher.
Thank you, sir. I agree with what you're saying on that. As I said at the beginning, I just want to make certain that the people who live in that affected area that have houses, that they're fully aware of the cost, the possibility that we deem it unfeasible to pay for that. Are you still comfortable paying property taxes in order to receive your fire and whatever other services? And if they decide, well, I want to get out of paying property taxes, hey, that'll help my budget, then it'll be up to them to decide that. And that might be a determining factor for them. I don't know what their property taxes are, but, $800 or $1,000 might be a lot to them right now. And I might say, I don't want to pay the property taxes anymore. I'm not getting services, so I just want to make certain that we have heard from the people that they're comfortable with that. I just don't want to say, well, we're just going to arbitrarily decide and go down. I want to make certain before I vote that they have been properly notified and they're aware of the consequences, and let them decide. I know at least the majority of the people have responded, not just 6 people on a survey that went out with the $50 probably is postage stamp nowadays, but 50 cents postage stamp that went out there. That did the post office even deliver it to those 40 people? I think I want due diligence done to these people to when I vote for de-annexation, if that should happen, that I'm comfortable with what the people in that neighborhood wants. That's my only issue.
Mr. Fisher.
Voting to de-annexation, have to have 100% say, yes, we want to be in Oakland. Right now, they're in Oakland. If you kick them out, it's gonna be a trying time trying to get them back in.
Well, annexation versus de-annexation has been completely overhauled in the
Right.
past few years. Doesn't even have to be done by ordinance. It's just done, and you're right, upon a petition of the property owner, the town can annex by resolution. So, I mean, there's no, two readings, public hearings, and all of that. It's been streamlined, provided that it is, upon the consent of the property owner.
So what you're saying is if we de-annex the area and a house that in Oakland could request to be annexed, and the board could vote by resolution and annex that property back in?
That's correct.
Not the whole subdivision, they could do one person if he asked.
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, you can't have a bubble.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't like the fact, one of the things that bothers me about this is I don't like the fact that 4 or 5 houses get to be in Oakland and the whole rest of the neighborhood doesn't. I think we either need to take whole neighborhoods or none at all. I don't know why it's fair that a person sitting in the house on the left gets his garbage picked up every week by the town of Oakland, and the person on the right has to drive all the way to the dump in Somerville. I don't think that's fair. These two people are neighbors. They should get the exact same services. And if we're gonna have, we can't just, spot annexation is more than just bubbles around neighborhoods. It's individual houses here and there that we pick up, and I don't like that. Either the whole neighborhood's in and gets it, or the whole neighborhood's not. And one thing, I heard what Ms. Hummel said, and I don't disagree. But when you send out as many surveys as we sent back, and we only get 6 back, that tells me no one else cares enough to even send the survey back. So I think by, you say a lot sometimes by not voting or not responding. I think it's saying, I don't care, it's up to you guys. I guess I'm good, Mayor.
Okay.
I got one more comment.
Yes, Mr. Case.
Going back to what Adrian just said, if I'm correct, this was annexed several years ago by a former mayor to stop somebody else from coming in and taking over part of Fayette County, and it was only like, what, 500-600 feet on each side of the road?
Correct.
And that's why you got these houses and subdivisions split.
I think we all agree it was probably not the best decision, and probably wasn't done the best way, looking back on it.
That was done back, I can remember, right after I came into Oakland, that was done to keep Shelby County, I'll go ahead and say it. It was keeping Shelby County from coming into Fayette County and taking part of it over.
Ms. Hummel.
I have a question, talking about what Alderman Case just said, talking about the urban growth boundaries. How does that affect our plan for that? Because we just got approved our urban growth boundary, that extending areas. How was de-annexation of the area affect our urban growth?
It doesn't.
That's not in the growth there, it was already there.
One other thing, Mayor, just for the benefit of the public, that when we're talking about a second reading, we're also talking about a full public hearing.
I'm just gonna bring that up, yes, sir. All right. Any other comments? Thoughts? All right. My last comments, and I'll try to summarize, Mr. Ellis, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Minor. We have to, after this first hearing, it will take a minimum of 60 days to get this to the public hearing.
There are notice requirements that have got to be met. To be honest with you, Mayor, I've been focused a lot more on making sure that this ordinance was written correctly and that we were identifying the properties correctly. There are notice requirements, and those notice requirements, as Alderman Fisher says, have to go out to multiple agencies. I'll have all of that,
Let me ask a question about that.
by Monday.
Okay.
I just want to make,
Yeah, wait a minute,
I'm sorry.
let me finish my
The
thought.
main thing is gonna be thank you.
Okay. The other thing is, it's been stated, there is gonna be a public hearing. Anybody can come and speak at the public hearing that's a resident of Oakland. If there's anything else I'm leaving out that we need to get in the newspaper or commented on today?
No, it's just the detailed survey is what is going to take time.
Okay. Mr. Wiggins?
the only question I had was, if this passes on a first and a second reading, it still does not go into effect for 75 days.
Correct.
The 60-day notice is less than 75 days. Do we have to give 60-day notice? Can it be after the reading, before the 75 days expires?
Absolutely.
That's all I wanted to clarify.
Any other thoughts? We need to have a motion. We've had a motion, we need to vote on this.
We didn't have we had a motion.
We didn't have a motion.
Okay, you gotta have a motion to vote, I understand that, we've had a motion to hear. Okay, all right. Everybody through? No more questions?
I've got one more question.
All right.
What, does anybody have an estimate of what the survey would cost to do it?
What I attempted to do for the first reading was to minimize the survey cost. To answer your question is no, because at this time I don't have that number. What logically in my mind, those properties were surveyed when they were annexed in. Those detailed descriptions are on the original ordinances. So I reached out to the surveyor that did them because that's a different language, I don't understand it. So my attempt would be to, I'm gonna approach him, I already approached him and say, can you interpret this from the original annexation and tie it back to specific parcels? He said he could, but that's gonna take time. So there still may be some actual surveying that needs to be done, but I think the majority of the information is already here, we have it. We just have to interpret and apply it to the correct parcels.
Okay. I make a motion to approve ordinance 2407.
Have a motion from Mr. Sutton to approve, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Case. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, we do a roll call vote.
Excuse me, can you make the motion as amended, changing from Rossville to Oakland?
I withdraw my first motion and make a motion to accept resolution 2407 as amended.
I keep my second.
All right. We do a roll call vote. Mr. Sutton,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
No.
Mr. Fisher,
No.
Mr. Wiggins.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2. First reading.
I have a question. Are we gonna have a workshop in July at all, or what do we got
I'm
going?
gonna get to that in just a second, please, ma'am.
I didn't want him to adjourn before.
You're getting ahead of me here. Ms.
Well, I was scared you could go to Case real quick, we wouldn't know.
All right. Before we adjourn, I'll leave it up to the board. There are some issues with traffic that we're trying to deal with. There are some ways we think we can address those traffic issues that we'd like to discuss with the board. We would like to have a workshop. We also need to put together that industrial board. They need to educate the board on that. We would like to have a workshop in July. We have not set a date. Like to do it in the first couple of weeks of July.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it gonna be lengthy enough to warrant an hour or an hour and a half for a
Let's say
workshop?
an hour minimum.
I have to check my calendar.
Can I ask a question? Can we adjourn the meeting and then discuss when we wanna have a workshop?
Yes.
Because
All right.
we need to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. I'm corrected there. Thank you, Mr. Sutton. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.
All right, when y'all wanna have a workshop?
I gotta check my,
What are we gonna discuss?
I gotta check my calendar.
You knew I was fixing to get out of here, didn't you?
I knew.
All right, listen up, please. IDB, tips, street,
When?
We haven't decided yet.
I'm quite comfortable it's gonna be at least an hour. But this is more particular, because we'll have a lot of questions. That's all I know. Mr. Sutton, do you have a date that you would like? Are you available on Wednesday?
I'll try to be here whenever it's set.
Okay, give me what's the second Wednesday?
Tenth, the
10th
tenth,
and 11th.
July the tenth.
All right, everybody available the 10th?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna set it for Wednesday the 10th. Are we available at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock?
Yes. I do it at 6.
5? I'll set it up 5 o'clock.
6.
10.
5 or 6?
6.
You wanna do 6?
Yeah,
Okay,
6.
6 o'clock
got an eye doctor's appointment that day.